Sup, party people? Welcome back to the LoreX podcast. I'm Cameron with an X, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Lycos Lore. Isn't that right?
Sup, party people? Welcome to the LoreX podcast. It is I, Cameron with an X, with my co-host.
That we agreed that you were going to introduce yourself as Lycos Lore. Why are you doing this?
We agreed that you were going to introduce yourself as Lycos Lore. Why are you doing this?
What are you doing, man? Why are you copying me?
Well, you know what they say. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. Because that's the theme of the episode.
I thought we were talking about Gizoids.
We are talking about Gizoids. Gizoids like to copy people. Some Gizoids copy better than others. We are...
Oh, I see what you did there. It's too early for this, Lycos.
It really is.
We are talking about Gizoids, and as Lycos has reminded me, they copy. At least some of them do.
For this episode, we actually have a special guest here on my end. I actually have a Emerl plushie. My sister got this for me. I didn't even know merch for Emerl existed. So the moment she was like, yo, they have an Emerl plushie, I'm like, can I have it?
Like, bet?
Yeah. So yeah, we got Emerl here because we're talking about Gizoids.
So, like, Gizoids are another series of robots in the Sonic the Hedgehog universe, but this time they're not all made by Ivo Robotnik.
Gizoids, as we talked about in a previous episode, they were made by the Nocturnus clan.
Way back, 4,000 years ago.
And basically, the Gizoids were responsible for wiping out the fourth great civilization, which was the Nocturnus clan. Which, I remember when we talked about it, there was some discrepancy because when the wiki is talking about the Gizoids destroying it, it says like, oh, they destroyed the fourth great civilization, but they didn't because the Nocturnus clan still exists.
Yeah, so, like that kind of feels contradictory because
so I actually had a thought about it. My thought is basically from like the rest of the world's perspective, the Gizoids did wipe out the Nocturnus clan because it was basically they started making the Gizoids, started using them, then next thing you know, gone. But in reality, the Nocturnus clan got ripped away from the planet by the Argus event because of the Gizoids.
I forgot about the Argus event. Big giant tentacle monster from above is just like, technology is too great. You can't be here. Yoink!
And threw it in the Twilight Cage with the rest of the bad children.
But that's a fair point that you bring up. Like, in referring to the fourth great civilization's downfall as being the Gizoids, what we know, at least according to the recounts of the Nocturnus clan themselves, they created the Gizoids to try to wipe out the Knuckles clan, but then the Knuckles clan kind of got wiped out by Chaos, and then they got wiped out by, I guess, themselves.
Yeah.
Argus.
Mm-hmm. And the only Gizoid that was not yoinked away with everyone else was Emerl.
Yeah, the old dude.
Yep.
Who, as we found out later on in the Shadow history, that he just goes on a rampage when Gerald finds him and destroys the Ark.
Well, destroys a good portion of the Ark.
Good portion of it. Sure. There were some pretty epic animations of Emerl and Shadow just like boxing each other.
Oh man,
the Dark Beginnings.
Yeah, the animation in Dark Beginnings is fantastic. I would love more of that, actually.
It was so good. Oddly enough, and we'll get more into the various different types of Gizoids and stuff, as well as I think how they're powered. But like what we see, as Lycos was so adeptly teasing you with in the beginning, is the Gizoids are really powerful because they have the ability to copy martial moves, personalities, various other like stances and stuff of the people that they fight, and every battle that they fight in makes them a bit stronger because they learn the ins and outs of the way that their opponents fight.
That is funny to me because my brain immediately thought you could just troll them by having them fight like the weakest people, like have them fight babies and then send actual troops to fight them.
Whoa. Now that sounds like an ethical problem for the Nocturnus clan, maybe? Maybe not. Do Nocturnus babies maybe exist at all?
Well, I mean, they're just echidnas, so I would assume yes.
Do echidnas have babies? Not a topic for this podcast.
We do have quite a few different Gizoids. Let's kick it off by talking about in yellow. Found by Gerald, kind of went on a murderous rampage, and basically Gerald shut it down by kind of put some of like Maria's personality into Emerl, and that was kind of what made him mellow out and not want to fight
supremely. It's interesting to think that, like, not only can the Gizoids, as we see Emerl specifically in Sonic Battle, like copying personalities just based off of just like exposure or being around these people, Gerald could just like program a personality into him, and evidently just had like, I don't know, a CD-ROM or some tape, some floppy disk that just had Maria's consciousness and personality just like on it to upload.
Yeah, seriously.
Interesting technology there, Gerald.
Basically, when Emerl met up with like Sonic and that crew, like he didn't want to fight, and they were okay with this. And Eggman's like, "I want Emerl back."
I want Emerl.
Eggman had quite a couple of new toys for this one, so he actually made a bunch of E-series based on Emerl. That was where we got
which we talked about.
Yep, E121 Phi.
Phi.
Which the Phis are not as good at copying as Emerl. So mechanically, Emerl could copy techniques, and in the game, you could basically give him different moves from different character movesets to basically build your character. From a gameplay perspective, like, it's fine, but balancing, you can't do that in like modern fighting games because like each character has like their pros and cons. So building your own fighting character is kind of overpowered. So it's interesting with the Phis because they can only copy the moveset of one person
as opposed to multiple or many.
So it can't be like a combination of different character moves. They have one person in mind, they copy their moveset.
I think it's also worth mentioning too that the Phi series was just like completely wiped out.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
So of the Phis, we knew there was at least 14. And after the events of Sonic Battle, they were all destroyed.
But like Emerl, I don't know. I don't know the correct way of pronouncing Emerl's name.
Emerl. It's not as bad as Sonic
Emerl?
X, where they call Emerl ML.
Emil?
ML.
ML? Oh, that's it?
Yeah, that's it. ML.
Oh, well, they're just missing a. Maybe they just got something against the R.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how they pronounced it in Sonic X, and it bugged the heck out of me.
Oh, I was going to say, are there any Sonic the Hedgehog characters that have an R in their name? Rouge the Bat. Moving on. Moving on.
Rouge the Bat, Vector.
True, Vector.
Dr. Robotnik.
Robotnik, yeah, very, very good point there. Yeah, anyways. Theory dead. I know that the other Gizoids, especially the ones that they talk about more so in Sonic Battle, they're fueled by chaos shards. Is Emerl also fueled by chaos energy?
I don't think Emerl is, because actually, in terms of power sources, I know the Phis are run on chaos emerald shards. I don't know if I don't believe Emerl is, but Emerl does get like more intelligent for each Chaos Emerald they obtain.
Very true. And I want to say what I recall is that the other previous Gizoids did not have the power to absorb Chaos Emeralds, but Gizoid, as being like the final product of the Nocturnus clan's technological advancements, could harness the power of potentially all 7 Chaos Emeralds.
Mm-hmm. And
he kind of does.
Yeah, because at least in Emerald's case, when he gets basically all of them, he goes back to like his original like berserk programming and tries to destroy the Earth.
I wonder if there's a thought to be said about getting all the Chaos Emeralds and reverting back to your original programming, thereby overriding the programming that somebody else put into you. Because, like, we kind of talked about the Chaos Emeralds being, like, this kind of energy of, like, sentient life and stuff. And if you are able to 100% sentience, agency, or whatever, I guess you could rewrite your own programming or just, like, completely overwrite it.
Yeah.
Maybe? I guess we don't really see many other examples of the robots not gaining all the Chaos Emeralds, because we see examples of that, but gaining agency and intelligence after getting all 7 Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, because I was even trying to think of, like, did Gamma start acting weird after getting a Chaos Emerald? And the answer is really no. Well, he never directly held a Chaos Emerald.
Yeah.
Because closest he
had
got
Froggy.
was Froggy, because Froggy ate the Chaos Emerald at that point.
Oddly enough, like there is another Gizoid who does get the Chaos Emeralds and does have a little bit more going on. But again, it's not that level of agency when we talk about not Emerl, Gemerl.
Well,
or I guess GML.
I would argue
Sonic X route.
that Gemerl is not a Gizoid.
This is
because he is a robot created by Dr. Eggman based on the Gizoids.
So maybe before we head on to Gemerl, we talk about the other definite Gizoids.
Yeah.
Which technically came before Emerl. Like the ones that were actually in use by the Nocturnus clan.
Yes. But also, before we move on from Gemerl, I want to read a quote here, which are Emerl's last words before he
sacrificed for the greater good and exploded himself.
Thank you. Hats off for Emerl, Shadow, Sonic. I'm so glad to have met you, and everyone else too. I don't know what my creator was thinking when he made me, but I'm glad they did because I got to meet all of you. When I first met you all, I was like a little baby robot who couldn't do anything. I couldn't even talk. I was weak, but you all protected me and played with me. I'm sure there was times when I was a burden or I was in the way, but in my time with you, I never felt in danger or worried. As Gerald programmed me to, all I ever felt was fun and excitement and happiness. Has Tails gotten stronger? I know he tried his hardest to protect me. Thank him for me. And Knuckles, he was so much fun, even though he was too gullible. But he is such a good guy. So, Sonic, don't take this on me too much, okay? And Mom, Cream, looks like this is goodbye. I don't want to go. I'll miss all of you. Shadow, should I be glad that I was born?
So
it's so wholesome.
Again,
but it also feels so tropey. But please,
yeah. So I actually wanted to get a little bit of the context on the mom thing, because when I first read this, I thought he was referring to like Vanilla, because I knew Emerl was like BFFs with Cream and maybe even like staying at Cream's house. But Mom in this case is actually Amy.
Amy the Hedgehog.
So I wanted to get a little more context on that. So I was reading through the script of Sonic Battle.
Oh man, you went deep.
So basically, part of the context is Amy sees Emerl as a child, and basically, because Emerl's basically a baby at this point, she almost sees like her and Sonic as mom and dad raising the baby. So I actually have a line here.
Incredible.
So from Amy.
He doesn't even notice me. We really have to start practicing raising our baby together. Where the heck is Sonic anyway? Oh, I know. He must have gotten cold feet. Oh, how cute. He's more sensitive than I thought he was. You must be over at the beach. Here I come.
So the idea of mommy and daddy hedgehog in Emerald's brain definitely came from Amy, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, there's a point to be made there about Emerald kind of taking on aspects of the personalities of the people that he surrounds himself with, and like it worked.
And also, like, it makes sense for like the context of Emerald's own like thought processes, because as that last quote said, like even he thought himself as a baby.
Yeah.
So like having like a mommy and daddy like works and makes sense in his brain.
Totally. Oh, and his circuitry. Maybe there's a brain in there otherwise.
Brain is the wrong term to use.
But in any case, like, it's interesting to see, like, don't get me wrong, there's a bit of that quote that's a little, like, tropey in a way, but he has the recollection at the last moment to thank every person along the way, except notably Eggman.
Well, also...
he mentions Gerald.
Not everyone.
But not Eggman.
Rouge isn't there either.
Oh, but was Rouge in Sonic Battle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not gonna mention the bad influences, only the good influences. And Shadow. Yeah. Shadow, I guess he asks a question. He's not much commenting on that.
Yeah, because I know at some point Shadow shows up either trying to take Emerl or kill Emerl. I don't remember which.
Shadow. What a guy.
Yeah, he explodes and everyone is sad, and that is the end of Emerl. 5 years later, we get a continuation of actual, like, Gizoid lore and, like, their origins. because we got the Nocturnus Clan stuff.
Oh, and that didn't happen in Sonic Battle. You're right.
Yeah.
That was after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about the chronology there.
Yeah, I remember playing Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, and then they're like starting to talk about Gizoids, which I didn't know what a Gizoid was. I didn't really play Sonic Battle. I did play Sonic Battle, but I mainly just had my custom Emerl running around fighting people because I was fun. I wasn't paying attention to the story.
Yeah, I watched my brother play Sonic Battle and Sonic Chronicles, actually, but never put the two and two together.
When I started playing Dark Brotherhood and they started like throwing the Gizoids, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Emerl! Because like they got like the same... But they're not friendly, and they kind of suck, and they're annoying, and there's a lot of them.
A lot of Gizoids. And in this case, in Sonic Chronicles, Dark Brotherhood, they're just talking about them as just Gizoids. They're not, they don't have particular names. Not all of them, at least.
Only 2 Gizoids in that game with names. We'll get to them in a little bit. But yeah, so they have a bunch of different Gizoids. They have the normal Gizoid. They have the Gizoid Mark II, which looks the
Classic
same.
boy.
They have the Gizoid Centurion, which looks the same, but
also
has like a shield.
kind of looks the same.
But have you seen the Gizoid Guardian?
Wait, I just saw the last one. Have you seen this Gizoid Guardian?
Dude, the Gizoid Guardian, it is the... Listen, if you thought Omega was Doritobot, Gizoid Guardian is like the apex of Doritobot.
Like, there's a certain level of this that's kind of unsettling in its appearance. Like, granted, like, you've got the big old shoulder pieces here, but the inner part kind of looks like, dare I say, a pair of underwear with eyes. And then I kind of got a little nose in there and everything, and just like...
It totally does.
I don't know. It's got like underwear dog energy.
Oh man.
And then you've got your little Gizoid on top or whatever. This is kind of looking a little inappropriate for the internet right now. There we go. Little treads on the and then a spear.
Oh, I love your
Centurion.
I love your drawings, my friend.
Yeah, for a while it was giving kind of panty vibes, but here we are.
Yeah, which
Doritos.
These Gizoid Doritos, you only see them like once in the game because they're like when you're fighting Imperator Ix, like basically at the end of the game, like final boss time.
Oh, final boss. Yeah, okay.
And then we get our named Gizoids. We have Charyb and we have Scylla?
Charyb? They're based off of the Greek characters, I think.
Yes.
I remember that from reading the Odyssey.
Yeah. So one's blue, one's red, and basically red one's fire, blue one's water. And
Charyb being the blue one, Scylla being the red one.
Charyb, I hated this guy because his whole gimmick is if he is underwater, he's essentially invincible because no matter what you do, he will only take 1 point of damage per attack.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, so
I imagine that's a pretty tough fight.
Yeah, so basically, like, you're fighting him, then it's like, oh, it's no use. It's like, oh, contact the second squad, and basically...
Take this!
Another squad of your full party is going in a different sector to shut off the water so you can beat Charyb, and they get attacked. They have to fight Scylla.
At the same time, but in another location?
Yeah, essentially, they have to beat Scylla so they can turn off the water so the rest of your guys can beat Charyb.
Yeah.
So Charyb, they are more serious versus Charyb is more catty, sadistically playful. Charyb is like the embodiment of, like the perfect soldier. Meanwhile, Scylla's just freaking nuts. They even have a flickering eye, which representing either like a closed eye or like a twitchy eye. That crazy guy that we don't talk about.
Got a couple of screws loose.
I mean,
oddly enough, like I feel like I never played the game, so I don't know what you mean by like a twitchy eye, but I've got 2 images here, I guess, of how Scylla looked in the chat boxes. And if you go back and forth between the 2 of them, it shows their left eye, like kind of going big and then small, and big and small, big and small.
I feel like a great summary of them is from this quote here. Madman? Silly shade. I'm not a man. I'm your destroyer.
I'm not a man. I'm danger.
Yep.
I love that. Interestingly enough, like I was looking at the character designs for Scylla and Charyb, and it looks like Charyb's mask over top of its eyebrows things kind of looks like a manta ray, and I never noticed that.
I literally just noticed that as you brought that up.
And like on Scylla, I would say it also kind of looks like Ray, like more crab-like. Well, in a way,
I could see that. And it's also interesting because Scylla has like this front piece on top of like the manta ray bit, where my first thought was, this is gonna be so nerdy, but it reminds me of the head of the Solemn Simulacrum from Magic the Gathering.
Interesting.
Versus Cherub's got a straight up fin on his head behind the manta ray. It's interesting with Scylla as well. When they were talking to Knuckles, because Knuckles is in the party that fights them, they refer to Knuckles as a porcupine, which this is actually a reference to his theme from Sonic Adventure, Unknown from Me, where in the lyrics, they refer to Knuckles as a porcupine. The new porcupine on the block with the buff chest, even though Knuckles isn't a echidna.
Wait, I wonder whether or not, where did Scylla get that information from?
I have no idea.
Because, like, they're stuck in... do we know whether or not Scylla and Charyb... Do you fight them in the Twilight Cage or outside of it?
Well, they are... You fight them in, like, the Nocturnus clan base, so that is inside...
Which I would be inside.
The Twilight Cage.
So how would they know... Unless, like, it's just a thing about the madman... Scylla being like legitimately thinking that Knuckles is a porcupine.
And also
irony.
I do wonder if for that song, if they called him a porcupine because like they didn't know Knuckles was an echidna. And apparently porcupines and echidnas look very similar.
But you know, I feel like they can identify the hedgehogs as hedgehogs, but I think hedgehogs and echidnas are kind of similar too. I don't know.
I do just wonder if it was just like the people writing the lyrics like just didn't know and weren't given that information.
I wonder. Or maybe it was totally intentional.
Man, it would be like the people who did the music for I think it was like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie, where in the song they made, they said Raphael's the leader, but if you know anything about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he's not.
He's not, isn't he?
It's Leonardo.
Is it the purple one?
Leonardo's the blue one.
Oh, okay. I don't know my TMNT very well. I don't know my Turtles very well. Battletoads, though, I'm only mildly familiar.
Once you beat Scylla, you can beat Charyb. Cameron, I have a question for you.
I have an answer for you, Lycos.
So we have we have a bunch of different elements. Fire, ice, lightning, wind, earth, and water.
Makes sense.
What do you think is the strongest element against Scylla? Scylla's the red one.
Scylla's the red one?
Yes.
Water, I assume?
Yes. Water.
Okay.
75%. All right.
Sweet.
What do you think is really good against Charyb?
Ice? Maybe fire in a turn of events?
I'm sorry. The answer we were looking for was water.
What?
Yes, the water robot, the one who, if in water, is basically unkillable, is weak to water.
Yeah. Wait. It's literally giant. Like, it's literally swimming through water, and it's weak against water.
Yes, it is weakest to water,
but only when it's out of the water.
Yes.
I feel like this goes back to the argument of whether like water is wet or not, and that apparently, Charyb is only weak to water when dry. Which means that in the water, no, wait a minute, no, in the water that'd be, no, when wet, not weak against wet, but when not wet, weak against wet. But then wouldn't it take damage as it dives into the water? Or is it like, oh, no, wait a minute, I got you. Mm-hmm. My partner's Apple Watch has taught me. There's a mode, you click the button, right? And the little gates on the inside close. They go boop, 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 boop.
So it's in water.
Now it's water resistant. Right? Mm-hmm. And then when it comes out of the water, she clicks the button on it again and it goes boop, 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 and tries to like vibrate all the water out. So I think that Charyb's actually an Apple Watch. It's gotta be. That's the reason why. That makes sense. When it's not prepared.
It wouldn't be the first time. I mean, as we talked about in a previous episode, Omega is basically a giant watch with anger issues. So having an Apple Watch isn't too out there.
So what does that make? What does that make Emerl or Scylla?
Emerl's a transformer because he can copy. So clearly he can copy what kind of watch he wants to be that day.
Clearly, you know. Or you know what? Emerl is like one of those like general brand watches that just kind of looks like an Apple Watch and functions more or less exactly the same, but with like none of the fanciness of Apple. I mean, I guess I would be calling Emerl a knockoff, which I guess is inaccurate, right?
Yeah, no, because Emerl is name brand.
What about? I don't.
would not be name brand because that is all of the Gizoids. That is all she Gizoid. Except this one.
What does it mean to Gizoid?
Except Emerl is a knockoff because he's based on
there
Gizoid,
we go.
but is not a Gizoid because he was
Emerl.
made by Dr. Eggman.
Emerl is the knockoff brand Apple Watch that does the job, but better. Albeit doesn't explode, I guess. Doesn't have self-destruct mode. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. So
unfortunate?
Maybe
fortunate?
I'm not crazy familiar with Emerl.
Honestly, so what I was reading about Emerl is that apparently he comes about in Sonic Advance 3, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah, I did not know it was a thing until I was reading, when I was reading the Sonic Battle, and it's like, oh, the plot is continued in Sonic Advance 3.
And you were like, wait a minute, what?
I'm like, what? Okay, I did not realize that was a thing. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Never mind, I did know this game existed. I'm an idiot, because my friend had a poster of this in their stairwell going to the basement. That's
a very specific poster to have.
Yeah, it was literally like just the cover art. I'm looking at like the cover of the box now, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I recognize this picture. I've seen this.
Yeah, and I've played Sonic Advance 2 before because that's the one that I had on like my Game Boy Advance and stuff. And apparently Sonic Advance 3 kind of takes some of the components of the classic, Sonic side-scrolling game mechanics and adds like partner effects to it and whatnot.
Oh, interesting.
But generally, the plot of Sonic Advance 3 is like Eggman makes his own version of Emerl after Emerl sacrifices himself for the good of the world and is another robot that's designed to be a good battler and can absorb Chaos Emeralds. And I think that's pretty much it. There's also like a power of teamwork thing to be had there. Dr. Eggman builds Emerl from the surviving data of Emerl. Later, he shatters Earth into 7 individual pieces.
Yeah, I was reading
pockets of reality.
When Eggman,
using chaos control.
When Eggman broke the Earth with chaos control to conquer each piece. So, going back to a previous episode, this is so the Gaia event was not the first time Eggman literally broke the Earth.
Yeah, wait, because didn't he do that again?
He did that in Sonic Unleashed. I think there was another time as well that we talked about. So we missed an instant. How many times is this man gonna break the Earth?
Didn't realize that this is not the first time Eggman's done this. And was it really Eggman who shattered the Earth, or was it the power of Gaia, or was it Eggman that was facilitating it?
Well, actually, it was him because he wanted to release Gaia, and Gaia was sealed in the Earth, if I recall correctly.
So naturally you have to crack the Earth open like an egg in order to get the Gaia yolk on the inside out. It's what tastes the best.
Exactly.
All the flavor
and then the whole plot is you're trying to repair the Earth, and somehow putting a Chaos Emerald in a temple in the middle of nowhere will put the Earth back together, because that makes sense.
But in this case, the robot Emerl, who I guess exists separately than this event of shattering the world with chaos control, but can also utilize the Chaos Emeralds, right? And Emerl has a super form, which we don't see in a lot of other robots.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh yeah, his super form. I want to see what that looks like.
Have you seen this thing?
I'm very confused.
It's a yo-yo. With two strings.
It's a ball with arms. It's a ball with two arms on the front specifically.
And it's got a big eye in the center.
Like, the only thing that it looks like that keeps from its original form is the color scheme, and then like the side star thing kind of looks like Emerl's headpiece.
Yeah, honestly, not the most inspired super form that we've seen in terms of robots and stuff. Like, we've seen other robots in the series, like, get Chaos Emeralds and then take on a super form. I think one of my favorites being Neo Metal Sonic into Metal Overlord.
Ooh.
But he still regains, like, his characteristic, like, sharp tendrils on his head, like, sharp quills type metal pieces on his head. It's got like the same like eye structure too, but albeit it's one big one now.
No, it's two.
Oh, is it two?
Yeah, it's one on top, one on the bottom. It's like the two mouths from,
on top and bottom, as opposed to horizontally.
Yeah, it's like the two mouths from Slifer the Sky Dragon.
Nah, that's good. That's good stuff. But like Emerl, just like, I don't know, to me, Ultimate Emerl, which is what the super form is called, strikes me as almost, I don't know, biblically accurate angel type character, you know? goes from something that's a little more anthropomorphic to something that just looks like, again, a yo-yo with 2 strings coming out of it.
It's a circle with 2 strings attached.
Saucer.
It is the 2-stringed yo-yo. Only depicted of.
You only fight Ultimate Emerl in like the true ending of the game if you collect all the 7 Chaos Emeralds.
Okay, in traditional Sonic the Hedgehog fashion.
And I think they're like the true ending of the game too. Like what we see after defeating Emerl by the way, using the combined power of Dr. Eggman and Supersonic and crew to defeat Ultimate Emerl, who gets really big and real scary and floats around in space or something. Emerl isn't destroyed at the end of it. Instead, he like goes back to his original form, like anthropomorphic form, and lives out the rest of his days peacefully in the House of Cream with Vanilla as well, and Chocolate Chow.
Okay, that's an interesting idea that like when defeated in like their super form, they revert back to their original form like this, because we see this again in Sonic Heroes, because once you defeat Metal Overlord. Actually, except in that case, it's weird because Metal Overlord doesn't degenerate to Neo Metal Sonic. It degenerates to original Metal Sonic.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And then Sonic, basically, he's like, oh man, I still couldn't win. And Sonic's like, well, if you ever want to throw down again, I'm always ready to fight you. Bye, runs.
There's something to mention about Sonic being cocky in times that really feels like it's unnecessary.
Talking to people who literally tried to murder him like 5 seconds ago.
I guess in that case, it's a pretty fair trade-off. I'm going to try to steal your entire being. Oh, I'm dead. Oh. Peace out, loser. Try to murder me some other time. But okay. So we've talked about Emerl, we've talked about the Phis, and then we've talked about the other Gizoids, right?
Yes.
I feel like, was there anything else Gizoid-wise that we haven't really covered yet here? There's not a lot of Gizoids to go around with, right?
No, because I think that was basically it.
It's interesting to think about the Gizoids as being like these supposed like super powerful robots and stuff, and apparently there was something about them that just didn't like click with the people who were utilizing them, right? To the point where they wouldn't be used further on. Emerl was destroyed. Emerl apparently is just a peace-loving robot, which Robotnik has no use for after the fact.
Yeah.
But lives peacefully. The other Gizoids, I guess, are trapped in the Twilight Cage, so nobody's going to access them anyways.
The Guardian ones, if there were only 2, because Ix had 2, we don't know. If there were only 2, they're gone. Scylla's gone, Charyb's gone, and then they have the army of whatever. Because I'm assuming not all of them were destroyed. And it's sad because, unfortunately, we're never going to get a conclusion to that story because we're never going to get another Chronicles game. Big sad.
Yeah, and I remember them saying they left off some pieces at the end with the intent to make another one, but I think it was because of legal issues that they weren't planning on making another one.
I think it was less legal issues because, if I recall correctly, like they had like a cliffhanger at the end of the game, but the company that made Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, I believe they got acquired by EA, if I recall correctly. And when they were acquired, they shut down all of the projects and everything for a continuation.
I found a piece here on the wiki saying that the creator of the game, Kaiken, said that there was a sequel to the game that was being written, but after the EA acquired them, they were just dropped. So can confirm that.
Big sad.
So it became a bit more of a one-shot. There was also saying something here that, and the quote from the wiki is, the cause of the sequel's cancellation is currently unknown, although it likely was a result of the legal issues caused by the incorporation of certain concepts into the original game. So combination of a couple things.
Right, because it was around that time as well where we had the whole Ken Penders situation, because the Nocturnus there were attributes of the Nocturnus clan that were kind of like based on other of the Echidna tribes from the comic universe.
Which was a lot of Ken Penders' work.
Yeah, so when he sued Sega and Archie for ownership of all the characters and stuff that he made, that's why they're,
Oddly enough, too, in 2023, there's another point here on the wiki that says that Miles Holmes shared a rough plot for the canceled sequel in a Did You Know Gaming interview, which I didn't know.
Ooh.
Talking of Ken Penders just a little bit more, I didn't realize that he still does work with that IP, like the Echidna's IP. I don't know if he owns it or not, or depending on what rights that he has, but I saw a Twitter post recently. The details I'm not going to provide because it was a little, I think it painted him in a very not so nice light. But he still draws and creates art of the various echidnas that we kind of covered in the Echidna Tribes episode, like the various other members of Knuckles' family, the Knuckles clan and stuff.
Oh gosh, like the two sisters.
Leenda, and there was another one.
Yeah, I'm blanking on their names.
Yeah, it's interesting that we see like an entire, again, that was a whole concept for another episode, but like the entire whole Echidna family tree and stuff, and having these other tribes like the Nocturnus clan, for example, was very fascinating to go over. Whatever. This ain't Gizoid. Yep. This ain't Gizoid material.
No, ain't no Gizoid, so we don't need it. Sorry, my inner orc came out. I'm sorry.
But Daka.
Daka. That is it for the copy boys, the Gizoids. Thank you, Emerl, for being here. You's a good lad. Good lad this is. Best boy.
Where do we want to go next with this, Lycos?
Honestly,
like, I feel like we covered a couple of things here.
Yeah.
And like, would you consider the Gizoids to be like little mini bosses of a sorts?
The general enemies, no, but definitely Scylla and
the nacho cheese ones.
I mean, they are
well, I guess they're lackeys.
Yeah, they're lackeys for the big bad. So I would say no to those two, but definitely Scylla and Charyb. And also Emerl as well, because obviously I'm assuming he's just an antagonist in the game.
Yeah. So maybe we play around with that next. I kind of want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of like the earlier games and the various other like bosses and stuff that we've covered.
Ooh, that could be fun. Let's do it.
I think that might be fun. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, next time on the LoreX podcast, something completely different, but also Sonic related.
Tiny bosses for tiny boys.
Tiny bosses for tiny boys, and maybe big bosses for bigger boys and girls alike, and those who fall in between or beyond. Well, thanks everybody so much for watching. I'm Cameron with an X, online video game mixologist, live streamer.
And I am Lycos Lore, the video game fusionist, and you can find me on YouTube.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Adios.